All eyes are on Washington today, where President Donald Trump is hosting a high-stakes summit with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and a host of European leaders. The meeting, taking place at the White House this Monday, August 18th, is a critical effort to find a path toward ending the ongoing war in Ukraine. This gathering follows the recent summit in Alaska between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, a meeting that concluded without any significant breakthrough. The lack of progress there has placed immense pressure on today's discussions, as the conflict continues to exact a heavy toll. Joining the presidents at the White House are some of Europe's most influential figures, including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron, and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Also in attendance are Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, underscoring the unified, yet anxious, European front on this issue. The agenda is fraught with difficult topics. Leaders are expected to confront Russian President Vladimir Putin's steadfast refusal to agree to a ceasefire, his persistent and expansive territorial demands in Ukraine, and the complex question of what long-term security guarantees could be offered to Kyiv once the fighting stops. President Trump, previewing the event on his Truth Social platform, wrote, "Big day at the White House tomorrow. Never had so many European leaders at one time. My great honor to host them." The outcome of these talks could significantly shape the direction of the conflict and the future of European security. While international diplomacy takes center stage at the White House, another high-stakes meeting is unfolding just down the road on Capitol Hill. Former Attorney General Bill Barr is set to appear before House investigators today as part of the House GOP's expanding probe into the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Barr's testimony is considered crucial, as he was at the helm of the Justice Department in August 2019, when Epstein was found dead in his cell at a federal jail in New York City. The Justice Department oversees the Bureau of Prisons, and Barr himself was embroiled in the immediate aftermath, famously describing the circumstances of Epstein's death as a perfect storm of screw-ups. This hearing is part of a much broader, bipartisan push to uncover more information about Epstein's network. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer has issued a wave of subpoenas to high-profile figures, including former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, as well as former FBI Directors James Comey and Robert Mueller, and a list of former Attorneys General. The investigation gained new momentum last month after an FBI memo revealed the agency was closing its review of the case. The memo controversially stated that no incriminating client list was found and that there was no credible evidence of blackmail against prominent individuals. That conclusion has fueled demands for greater transparency, with Chairman Comer stating that Bill Clinton is a prime suspect to be deposed due to reported visits to Epstein's private island. Mr. Barr's testimony today will be closely watched for any new light it might shed on the Justice Department's handling of the case during a critical period. The political maneuvering in Washington is a prelude to what is shaping up to be a contentious 2026 midterm election cycle. That battle is already being fought intensely at the state level, with major developments today in the nation's two most populous states, Texas and California. The states are locked in a high-stakes redistricting war. In Austin, Texas, state lawmakers are convening for a second special session called by Republican Governor Greg Abbott. At the top of the agenda is a GOP-drawn congressional map, urged on by President Trump, which aims to create up to 5 new Republican-leaning districts by carving up existing Democratic ones. The move is part of a national GOP strategy to bolster its thin House majority ahead of the midterms. The effort was temporarily stalled when Democratic state representatives fled Texas to deny the House a quorum. However, after weeks away, they have signaled they will return today, likely allowing the new maps to pass. Governor Abbott has vowed to call special session after special session until the agenda is passed, and the House Speaker has threatened the returning Democrats with arrest to compel their attendance. In a direct response to the events in Texas, California Democrats are launching their own aggressive countermaneuver. Governor Gavin Newsom is leading a push to hold a special election this year to ask voters to temporarily suspend the state's popular nonpartisan redistricting commission. If successful, this would allow the Democrat-dominated state legislature to draw new maps for the next 3 election cycles, with the goal of creating up to 5 new Democratic-leaning congressional districts to offset the expected GOP gains in Texas. The plan faces opposition, not just from California Republicans like former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who calls it a power grab, but also from former Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger, who was instrumental in creating the Independent Commission over a decade ago, has launched a campaign to terminate gerrymandering, arguing that California should not race to the bottom by replicating the partisan tactics seen in other states. The fight for control of the House of Representatives is clearly underway, and the battle for the Senate is proving to be just as fierce. Today, a familiar face in Ohio politics announced he's re-entering the fray. Former Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown has officially launched his 2026 bid to return to the U.S. Senate. Brown, a longtime fixture in Ohio politics, lost his seat in a bitter and expensive race last year to Republican Bernie Moreno. He is now challenging Republican Senator John Husted. Husted was appointed to the seat in January after then-Senator J.D. Vance stepped down to become vice president. The 2026 election will be a special election to serve out the final 2 years of Vance's original term. Brown's decision comes after heavy recruitment from national Democrats, including Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who see him as a top-tier candidate in their quest to win back the Senate majority, where Republicans currently hold a 53-47 advantage. He is the second major recruit for Democrats this cycle, following former North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper. In his announcement, Brown focused on his populist themes of standing up for workers and dignity. Predictably, reactions split along party lines. The National Republican Senatorial Committee immediately labeled him a liberal sellout, while Democratic leaders praised him as a tireless fighter for Ohio. His candidacy will test whether a Democrat can still win statewide in Ohio, a former swing state that has trended increasingly Republican over the past decade. As the political landscape for 2026 takes shape, President Trump himself made a major announcement today, aiming to fundamentally change how those future elections are conducted. In a lengthy post on Truth Social, the president declared that he will lead a movement to eliminate both mail-in voting and the use of electronic voting machines in U.S. elections. He stated he would sign an executive order to this effect in advance of the 2026 midterms. In his post, President Trump made the legally contentious claim that states are merely an agent for the federal government in tabulating votes and must follow presidential directives on the matter. This assertion is expected to draw immediate and significant legal challenges from states and voting rights groups. Using forceful language, the president wrote that he and the Republican Party will fight like hell to end what he called the mail-in ballot hoax and voting machines that are a complete and total disaster. The announcement quickly drew praise from allies, with Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene posting her strong support. The president's declaration marks the most significant step yet in his long-running campaign against current voting methods and ensures that the debate over election administration will remain a central and divisive issue in American politics.